This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pornian Bakery. If you're located in the Pornian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pornian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone can podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, so we were both talking about like war related stuff, and you just go first. So you're talking about what's that Apple show you were just saying?
Masters of the Air.
Okay, Master of the Air. So it's like a World War II kind of thing, or
I think it's World War II. Yeah. World War II.
Okay. All right. So you're saying that it's pretty realistic. Just jump into what you were telling me, and then I'll jump into mine, which is interesting too.
Because a lot of the time, like for the pilots, at least these pilots were going in daytime, and it's like they shoot out those like missiles or not missiles, something to stop the planes, right? And it's just randomly exploding.
Flares?
Yeah. And it's more like getting lucky to be alive each time you go up, because you know that what you're doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you know what you're doing is you're gonna die. You could very likely die.
Yeah. So you're saying is it sort of like Top Gun 2? Like,
no,
remind you of that, or?
No, because Top Gun was very much a movie, because they don't talk about. This is like from World War II, that technology, right? So I don't know what it's like today with our current planes that we have, but the World War II thing is very much because you're both almost even ground who they were fighting.
Yeah,
as a technology, right? So the chances of you dying in the mission are very high, and you're going into
right,
and you're
no,
still
like technological advantage.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And
you're saying that
each time you go into the air,
yeah.
you know that you may not come back. So, and the mentality of that is which one?
Yeah. I feel like that's the same as the Top Gun one. You know, because like when they go in the air, it's like I feel like you could always die if you're in that position, because you know, like when you're flying a plane.
No, I know, but there's a way that they did it in the movie. It felt different, of course, yes, but I was just thinking, like, this is like in a war scenario. That was a movie scenario, right? Like, okay, they have to do these maneuverings to get away from the rockets, but it's like this one is, you don't know, like you're seeing people dying beside you, like. The chance of you living through it are very slim. Okay,
so in the show, they show you like the reality of how easy it is to die, essentially.
Yeah, and they're still going up into the air. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the things that you deal with, the things that you deal with when you're in the air, right? So these planes are not like insulated that well, so you're feeling the cold. And like if any gunner ships or planes go by and then they shoot up that person that's in there, and he's like the scare, like he pisses his pants, but then because of the air from the outside, it freezes onto his legs, so he's getting frostbite from that. It's like showing that level of. Is it like you're?
Yeah.
The realism that was there.
Are they not covered? Are they not covered or something?
Even if they are, like, they can be covered. But I'm saying, like, because you have the gunners are like. They're open spots, right? As well.
Okay, so they're not covered. Like they're
in the gunner position.
Like
yeah.
Elements.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Unlike now, which is like if you watch Top Gun 2, they have an insulated shell that they're kind of fighting in.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
yeah.
like, yeah, you gotta
The
think
times are totally different.
at the time. Yeah, at the time it was like only a few, maybe a decade or two since planes were there. Really, or maybe a decade, right?
Right. That's so fascinating too. How quickly you advance from the Wright brothers flying a plane to using it for military.
Yeah.
Because you know, like the internet is related to the army, but and a lot of advancements come from the army. But the Wright brothers one, that's not army related, right? That was just them trying to create a plane.
Yeah, there were. Yeah, they're. I guess they're inventors, right?
Yeah.
To make it, yeah. I think, but more, they had different iterations. But I think with the money or the budget from the military is where we can focus more on the technology.
Right, like bigger advancements and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have the bigger budget.
Yeah,
that makes sense. It's interesting that, like, the realities that you're bringing up. Yeah, you could totally just die at any moment, and I feel like a lot of like the army movies that you typically watch are very like heroic. You know, like if you watch like 27 hours, not 27 hours, like 13 hours or something, or like Green Zone, stuff like that. It's always like they're almost invincible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's pretty refreshing to see something where you could just die and it's like nothing. That is really the situation.
And I think they were talking about even with the war, because they're like bomber planes that they're flying, and then it's also that I would mention like indiscriminate bombing, because they know like, oh, there's our mission to stop this train, but this train is near a church that people go to, and then one of the guys was like we're doing this on a Sunday or whatever it was. It's like we're going to be killing like churchgoers because they're also Christian too, right? So it's like and it's like, but it's like, and one of the guys like, no, this is war, like these are things that you have to just kind of like
totally,
set aside, and then you're doing this for a mission, and that's it.
I mean, we try that now with like when you bomb certain areas, and then like drone strikes and stuff, and then you kind of hope that you don't hit something else.
There was something that talked about was it a movie or show? I don't remember. That was about the drone person that flying the drone and being affected by just killing all the innocent people and stuff like that. Yeah.
Wasn't that a movie? It was like a movie that we watched, and they're like in a box. And do you remember that movie where like they're inside of like a video game kind of thing, and then they're showing all the drone strikes and all the pressure, and then at the end of the movie, he comes outside of the box, and it's like, oh yeah,
for years, like a video game,
but then people on the ground floor.
I think I remember what it was. It was
really dying.
I don't think it was a movie.
That was a good movie.
The one I'm thinking about was from
Eye in the Sky or something?
No. It was a show. The Tom Clancy one show. I forgot, on Prime. Is it Tom Clancy or the guy from The Office? It was.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna kill me because I like that movie. Ryan. It's Ryan, right?
I think so. I forgot now. But I think that's what
it was. It
was in that one. It was a show.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Oh man, it's killing me because I really like that movie too. Where they talked about like economic warfare.
Yeah,
the next battlefield's going to be finances.
Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan. Yeah. Okay, so they showed that there too, where it's like the difference between like us in the West using these drones, and then the people in the who are actually being affected by them. Totally different. Yeah. So okay, that's basically what happened in Land of Bad. I wanted to bring that up. I think it's definitely worth the watch, even though it got like kind of a low score. When we play video games and then the UAV that goes up?
Yeah.
So that's what it's about. So you have the people on the ground who are like fighting, and then like a thing that us in Call of Duty, we're like running on the ground, and then you have like them calling up UAVs, and then the UAVs are helping to guide them, like, oh, go in this direction. There's less people here,
right?
And what I thought was interesting is there's this moment where they tell the UAV pilot to go home, and then he's at the grocery store, and then they keep cutting back and forth between the person who's captured and being tortured, and then the person at the grocery store just like totally doing mundane things, like trying to buy cheese, trying to buy meat. And it's like, that's us right now. Like literally that's us right now. The dualities of the Western nation, and then you jump to somewhere like Itchy Boots when you show me that. It's like, no, that's really happening right now, and we don't even think about that. We are super privileged here in like Western society. And like this piece that we like, cities and like organization, although it does have its hangups, if you go in those places, there's really not much law going around, and that's actually happening right now. Like I'm sure, like you go to the Congo, right, and then Cobalt Red, people are like fully dying and suffering, and like we're here just chatting on a podcast. You know what I mean? It's so weird to think about.
Yeah, like the phones that we use, even the computers that we're using, they're all come from that place too, right? And the materials.
Yeah, totally. And but that's crazy because it's literally happening right now. When you really think about it, like it really hit me when I came back from the Philippines that one time, and then I was thinking about my cousins because 12-hour difference, right? So like while we're awake, they're sleeping, and I was like, oh, dude, there's a total different world happening at this very moment. And it's completely independent of your world. Like both worlds are super independent, like the things we care about, the laws, the news.
Yeah.
It's like so alien.
Yeah.
Like no matter how small we think the world is, it's super big. Yeah. A funny thing related to this. Do you remember that African story where like they brought the people from Africa, and then they were eating like cheeseburgers, and then they were like, "Oh, is this even food?"
Oh yeah. It was like the different.
That story, right?
That show, wasn't that the show that like there? I think there was like mom something with living in the tribe and then living in the city.
I think you showed me it.
Yeah,
totally. So it's funny because like related to that, even like besides the fact that we have this totally different world that's happening outside of us, when you bring somebody from that side of the world into this side of the world. So like my uncle came, right, and then we went to the CN Tower yesterday, and like it was great, like, but it was so interesting to watch his perspective on it, because they put down, so like, they're like, what do you want to eat? And then my dad's like, oh, reading. I'm like, oh, there's a salad. So mind you, he's never left the Philippines, right? She's like, oh, there's a salad, and like there's fish. He's like, oh yeah, I'll eat the salad because I love greens. They put the salad down, and he's like, oh, what's that smell? And I'm like, oh, that's salad dressing. And then he's like, oh, what is this, like, what is this thing? And I'm like, oh, it's an onion. He's like, oh, it's not what onions look like. And I'm like, oh wow, it's like, it's so real,
Right.
And I was saying how like in the Philippines, him eating different veggies is like they're used to like a real type of freshness. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Whereas here we don't really understand that. Like we think it's fresh, but it's like, no, it's not really. So she put down like this I didn't plan on talking about this, but it's like related. So she put down this squash, and then he was like eating it, and we couldn't tell the difference. We're like, okay, yeah, that's squash. And he was like, oh, it's not ripe. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, look at the way, like, it's like browning on this side. It's a little hard. Like, you could tell that this is not a fresh squash. And I was like, wow, that's like, what are you thinking about what our diet is like? When he's eating real food.
Right.
Which is wild. We never think about that from that perspective of the stuff we bring in supermarkets. It's frozen. It's like it's packaged to come to this like place.
Yeah.
And another funny one was like these like mussels. They're so tiny, right? But in the Philippines, they're like huge. So my mom ordered like mussel soup or something, like clam chowder or something, and then there was only 3 tiny pieces. And he's like, "Oh, you like that?" And then she's like, "Yeah, it's good." And he's like, "Oh, you come back to the fish pond, I'll give you a whole bag of that." But it was like,
sure,
3 tiny pieces for like $30, and like he's just scooping it out of the like the fish pond.
Yeah.
You get way bigger shrimp. We were talking about shrimp, how it's like tiny here but huge there. Yeah, it's wild. It makes you think, like, is the way we're living our life the most optimal, or like how weird is our lives from the outside perspective?
Sure. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. You ever think about that? It's like
Well,
with your uncles that come here, like
yeah, because it's not where tropical places are more fresh, right? You just pick it up from the tree, or the fish pond or whatever is right next door, kind of thing, right? So, but here you can't.
Yeah, like literally,
it's not done here. It's not the climate to grow these sort of things. You can only bring them in from outside. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't even understand like what freshness is.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I would have eaten that thing. I was like, oh yeah, it looks fine. And then, but he could tell because he's like, no, I actually eat fresh. He didn't say this, but he was like just explaining to me.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you actually eat fresh food, so you know what you're looking for,
right?
You know, and the sauce one was the craziest because it's like, oh, it's just salad dressing. But he's like, oh, like what are you putting this on?
Yeah,
like, why would you put? But to us, it's like, oh, this is like a garnish, bro. Like this is a special. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's wild. Yeah. Even like lentils.
Yeah.
And like it was like a little small, right? So he's never had that before. So he's like, oh, what is this? And my dad's like, oh, it's like lentils, kind of like rice. He's like, oh, I've never had this before. Like again, there you go. Like the things we take for granted. Like you've never seen that kind of Middle Eastern lentil thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
But I think that's the difference where yes, he's gonna have his items of fresh from his own place and everything, but here it's like we get options from all over the world, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so there's pros and cons to that kind of thing, where you can experience a Middle Eastern diet or a South Asian diet, Chinese diet, right?
Yeah, he'd never and another thing, he'd never been on like the subway too, so it was like very fascinating for him. But things we take for granted, we're like, oh yeah, but who doesn't have a subway?
Exactly.
Right? And I think like that's the dual culture shock from like our side going there and then their side coming here. It's like, what is this innovation?
Right.
Even like the thought of like working from home, it's like, well, what is that? Like he's like they've started to do that there because the internet's gotten better. But when you think of like working, it's like you're going to a place or like you're farming or you're doing something.
Yeah.
Physical.
Yeah.
But we have like very desk related jobs, which is pretty wild. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's weird to think how varied our actual world and society is, even though we try to think we're progressing, in terms of like, oh, how much technology there is. But then is it creating like more of a divide between like the haves and the have-nots, or like the first world, the third world? You know what I'm saying?
No, I think that there's been a growth on both sides, right? Of course, different depends on the time that we're looking at. But now it's like there's more people have more opportunities, even in those countries there too than there were before, and that's just the growth of technology, right? Like you can jump leap, like as I was saying, like in India where it's like a lot of people didn't have landlines, but they jumped over to the cell phones. So cell phone is so much more cheaper there. Their plans are so much more cheaper. They have more population, but yeah, those are the things that they can jump leap in certain technologies where we had to, like in these nations, it just took some time to grow that network to get to the point of cell phones. But where they can just jump. So like even with like I think Starlink, the Starlink is a jump where people have rural areas can have now access to internet.
Like wireless internet versus before where it's like you have to dig up the ground, have fiber optic cables, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, it is propelling those sides too. Like they don't have to go through like the learning curves that we had to go through.
Yeah, they can see the mistakes done. All right, the things that didn't work in the Western world that they can use on the certain and it becomes cheaper too, right? These technologies end up becoming cheaper for them.
Yeah, true. Yeah, totally. Yeah, scalability and stuff. That makes sense. What would you say is because I've been thinking about this a lot, and then it's interesting to see it through like an outsider's perspective, but like I was kind of feeling it myself. Where would you say is the best city? Like let's say you're like, okay, I would like this is the best city in the world.
I mean, that depends on what I think each individual would be different, what they're looking for in life, kind of thing.
Okay, fair. Okay, I guess my question would be more like, do you think that Toronto? It's kind of a leading question, but do you think Toronto is getting to that point of like New York and like LA? You know those like big cities where they're like, oh, dude, New York's like popping, or like LA, there's so much to do. You know, I really feel that Toronto is really upscaling itself. You know, we have these like pockets of diversity, and like you can go to the nature if you want. We have the Four Seasons. Um, we have tall buildings. We have tech. You know, like
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely not Asia, right? But in Asia, you have kind of like even though the tech is really great, you kind of have a homogeny. It's just one type of thing, like it's just all Asian people. But in terms of like diversity and all that, I really think that like for me, because I'm just thinking about like what's my favorite city, and I was like Toronto's probably number one actually. Like before it wasn't, you know, there's like New York, and, like other
Right.
places.
Yeah.
Like, do you think Toronto's hitting that point, or like no? You think it's still like a meh city?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to say if I've got to visit other places to know. But yeah, it is a variety. That's of course that's what's here, right? If of course
Yeah,
you go to
and I
Shanghai,
feel like I can
it's
get
more.
anything though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean, right? Like that's what I'm really basing this upon in terms of like the best city, because yeah, there are like technologically better cities, but you're kind of only getting that one thing. Like if I go to Hong Kong, I'm not gonna find like Jamaicans. You know, but like, where's your Jamaican people? Like, where's Hong Kong, bro?
Right.
Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah.
You know, where's this?
Right.
But I
Yeah.
feel like it's kind of like it's not a melting pot like America. It's more like a mosaic. You can be yourself, and that's why you get these little pockets around Toronto. And I think that's it's like I'm making a case here for like why I think Toronto's the best city. You
No,
know?
I think that makes sense. I think that's kind of why. Yeah, I have opportunity. I can. Yeah, if I want sushi one time, I can go get sushi or like different something
That's
else.
what I'm saying, right?
They're all relatively close by. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like the import export. So like if you um I was driving to drop something off to Wob, and I was going through Scarborough, and I went from like where I am is like Korean, and then as I drove there, I was like, oh, there's a lot of Indian places there, and then I can actually go to like an Indian store and find very authentic, like close to authentic Indian stuff. You know, like you can find saris, you can find like those bracelets, you can find like candles. You know what I mean? Or even if you can't, maybe they can import it from there.
Yeah.
You know. So I think like the authenticity is there. It's not like they're not trying to be something they're not. It's like this is literally what we have.
Yeah.
You feel that too, right? You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Like I went to like the Iranian bakery down the street because like there's also an Iranian corner near me, and yeah, I was just like they're all speaking Iranian. They had like the Iranian desserts.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Where am I gonna find this in like another city? You know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like Hong Kong and be like, "Where's your Iranian people?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
I mean, yeah, that's why a lot of people still want to come to these countries, right? These Western nations. And they're the ones who build that that pockets and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. And yeah. So I think that it's an exciting time to watch Toronto flourish, especially I was going through downtown. There's just so much development, but I was kind of like, who's gonna live here? Because it's so expensive. You know, like they're building condos and stuff. But even outside of that, it's like there is. I don't know. I feel like we're on the precipice of something interesting that's about to happen. Not just with like Toronto, but like UAPs, government disclosure, internet, AI, robotics, artificial intelligence. Like there's just so much happening right now that I'm kind of like, we are at the apex of something that's about to explode. You know?
Right.
Do you feel that too? Or is that just me?
I don't, maybe I'm not seeing it the same way as you. Yeah. I think there's always going to be growth, but I don't know if it's necessarily like, oh, this is the year or something like that.
No, like not that this is the year, like I don't know which year, but it's
Sure,
just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it's like all coming towards a weird like climax. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I don't.
Or no, you don't feel
I
that.
don't feel like that. No, I feel like this is just the natural progression of growth that will happen.
Okay. Maybe it's because I'm paying attention to so many UAP things that I'm like, what's about to happen? So I'm reading this new book. I haven't finished yet. It's called Alien Agendas, and a lot of people talk about it in the UFO space.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what it is trying to figure out why they're visiting. Okay, and one of the things that I gathered is, and it's making sense though as I'm starting to see it. So like Tom DeLonge in one video, he was talking about the life in the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how if you see if you go to the ocean and you see a plastic bottle and you're like, oh, that's a plastic bottle. And then you see a fish and then you're like, you don't even realize that there's a boat. And then the boat's connected to land and then land's connected to societies, right? And he's saying that's how like our universe is. So we think that there are these alien beings that are like one-offs, but it's like, no, we're actually a part of this galactic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is life in the universe, right? There's so much life. We just don't see it the way we're expecting to see it, you know? And one thing that the book was saying is that we could be a part of like it's like Star Wars. Remember when he goes into like the cantina and there's all those different life forms?
Yeah.
That could be, or you know what I'm saying? Like there's like the Jabba the Hutt and like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, right? The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you could, we might actually be headed towards this point where it's like, surprise, there is so much more life in this universe
Mm-hmm.
than we thought.
Right.
And that's kind of why I'm feeling like we're about to hit something, because we have so much in terms of like augmented reality, Starlink, this UAP thing. Cities are becoming more integrated and like,
Mm-hmm.
like remember in like the 90s when you thought of, actually no, here, I'll do this one. You know, like cyberpunk?
Yeah.
How it's very amalgamated. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like there's so many things just put together. You have like cyborgs and stuff. And we thought that was like a distant future. And we're like, oh, we're not actually going to achieve that. Like Blade Runner 2024 or something, whatever, right? But I think we're actually there.
Right.
Like, I think we're about to actually enter into that type of society. Like that Neo Tokyo future kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
Well, like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think
before I go on into why I think that, you know.
No, I think that is probably what's going to happen. But I just feel like that is the natural progression of things, right?
It is the natural progression, but I think our timeline is skewed. We all thought it was going to be like 2000, but it's like, no, it took a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
But I feel like we're. I think
the thing that's very different today than even our time when we were kids is that the internet is that good that the people grew up with the internet, right? The kids today they have more information than they ever had before. Than we ever had before. Level
of access, level of creativity. Yeah.
So those ones that grew up with it, those are the ones. There is a game changer to happen. Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean. You could feel it too. Now that we're explaining, like we're talking about it, it's like, oh no, something's definitely coming.
Yeah.
Not coming, but like we've
it's happening.
Into a shift where we just can't.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. It's like they didn't know they were going to the Renaissance till after they knew that they were in the Renaissance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like 200 years from now, when things are just like, oh, they've normalized and like, oh, this is kind of the world we look at. Like we live in with like, oh, there's alien races that interact with us. We have like augmented reality. We have cyborgs. You're kind of like, oh, dude, that's so futuristic. But then we're like, no, we lived through that transitionary phase. You know?
Yeah.
Especially with the disclosure thing. It's like, okay, so what else is out there? And like, it's like the disclosure coupled with the Apple Vision Pro. Because I'm watching those videos and I'm like, dude, this is the future. Like, what are we doing? Why do we even have a cell phone? Because why would you need a cell phone?
Exactly.
Right? You just need the glasses.
Yep.
And I've I guess it's also spurred because I was like trying to look for another anime that was like a training one,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't really find one after the sumo, but Vince Staples put out the new show on Netflix, and he referenced Ghost in the Shell. And I was like, oh yeah, I heard about that when I was a kid. I've never watched it though, right? You know what I'm saying? And I watched the one that came out in 1995, and that's such a futuristic
Mm-hmm.
world. And then I was like, oh, I'm actually really intrigued now, so I'm gonna watch like everything related to Ghost in the Shell. And that world that they're depicting, I'm like, we're about to hit it.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually about to hit it. In terms of but it's interesting though. So like the premise of the philosophy behind Ghost in the Shell is like the ghost is our soul, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have these agents that are able to move their soul from one like body to another.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like if one dies, all right, cool, your soul will come out of that body and then they'll implant it into another one. But then the question in the show, which I don't think we understood at the time if you watch it when you're younger, or like the actual implications is like, what about artificial intelligence? That's the question they're asking. It's like the ghost in the shell, how do you know the difference between a soul and AI?
Yeah, right.
Because in that movie, like there's an artificially generated intelligence, like, but you're not real.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what are you talking? They actually ask these questions where it's like, but I have memories like you, and I feel things, and I have like relationships. So how do you know that we're both not real? You say you have a soul, and I'm saying I have like intelligence. What's the difference?
Right.
You know. But we are in that zone, you know.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was talking to this like religious professor related to UFOs. And one thing that they said was when they say artificial intelligence, it's kind of a misnomer. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's not real. But it is intelligence, though. We have created a life form. Like ChatGPT is an intelligence. You know what I mean? But we're calling it artificial because we're scared. You know, because it's man-made.
Right.
But it's like, how do you know it's not real, though? It is real. Like, you can ask it a question. It'll talk to you. It can trick you, you know? Yeah. I don't know, like thoughts about that? That there is actually an like we've created a life form. We have created a life form in AI. I think so.
Right. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Like how is like Athena, a dog? How is that actual intelligence? That's like organic intelligence. But how is AI not intelligence? It's just because we coded it? But it's like she has DNA, you have code. This is basically
they're both the same.
Bro.
Yeah. We're all code.
Right?
Yeah. DNA is code.
We're all code. That's what DNA is code, right? No, but actually, right? And that's what it said in Ghost in the Shell too. It was tripping me out. Ghost in the Shell, it's a dope anime, bro.
No. I've watched it. Wasn't it a show or a movie?
Yeah. It's one movie that came out, and then they did spin-off shows.
They did spin-off. Yeah.
It was so like the first movie. Nothing really happened. It was really just philosophy that they were just dropping on you.
Yeah.
But if you watch it, you're like, if you actually ask me the storyline, it's like nothing really happened. But they were just kept using that as a means to like spread stuff, like questions about consciousness, right? And then the show, they delved into that more. And it's like one thing in the second movie that he said is cities. So if we are all code, like DNA is code. They literally said this, DNA is code. So cities are an encapsulation of code. So it's like a hard drive.
Right.
And I'm like, it technically is like a hard drive, bro. So, but then if you go into the UAP space, they think that UAPs are not an artificial intelligence, because we already said that artificial intelligence isn't intelligence, but they think it's some sort of AI thing in the future that we've created. Like we've created a thing that's now able to like interface with us. And the reason why, so this other book I'd read, 2001 Space Odyssey. You heard the movie, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that one's also a question about consciousness and like who we are. And one thing that they said is all intelligent species that off-world, like extraterrestrials, they will always become cyborgs. The reason why is because our organic parts are not strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
And
Of
any
course.
intelligent species will naturally swap out parts that are dying.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started to list them. Because it's like it's set in the future, but it's like it listed things that we already do.
Right.
Which are like pacemakers, prosthetics,
Mm-hmm.
freaking so many things, right? Like these trackers to make us more optimal.
Yeah.
My sleep apnea thing that I'm like, I'll get into that later, but like even using like a sleep apnea device to make me more optimal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're using
like cyborg stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Right? It's like, because it's not implanted until you have like Neuralink. So you're like, oh, we're not a cyborg yet. But it's like, no, technically we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're using technology. Yeah. That makes us. Yeah.
And they're saying that, right? Yeah. And all intelligent species that off-world will have to become a cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like it'll have to create things to make itself more optimal.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is like true. You know, it's because we're literally doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why I think we're like about to hit something crazy. Because it's like, you might not be privy to it yet, but the people that are like the forefront of this thing, they're seeing where this is all going in terms of like AI and like genetic splicing, CRISPR. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We can genetically engineer cells.
Right. Yeah. But the thing is, we're now doing it at the DNA level where we have been doing it for a long time, right? Farmers have been doing it for a long time in our history.
Yes.
This is
farmers.
We've always been trying to figure out a way to make things efficient better than what the natural organic standards are, right? So it makes more sense. Yeah, now that we can go into the DNA and change a few things to get what we want.
Yeah, totally. Right? And one thing that it said in the book, that 2001 Space Odyssey, I don't know if this is like true, but it's a great positioning of it. The rarest thing in the universe is the mind. Because the mind is like, if you go to different worlds and if you can create a mind, then you're able to like solve problems. Like what we're doing with like, how do I augment this reality? How do I like DNA check, all that stuff? It requires like an analytical mind in order to build it. So it can't be localized to us. Like if there is other species out there traveling intergalactically, they must have a mind too, because they had to figure it out.
Right.
So it's like, that is the rarest thing.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense.
Like the rarest resource. Right? Like it's like sure, a dog has a mind, but it's not at the level to like problem solve enough. Well, I guess it is actually, because they do problem solve, but it takes like years and years of like.
Yeah, it's evolutionary thing, right? Of course, it's how it was evolved to get that problem solving mind. Yeah,
like survival and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's this interesting thing that they're thinking about UAPs now, where they call them donations.
Okay.
So, like, it's like, why did they crash? Right? That's the question. Because if they're so sophisticated, why do they crash? And like, there are theories of like them hitting lightning storms and like it just messed with their hardware. But another theory is that it could be, quote unquote, donations, where we do it too, where we send satellites out into space with the intent that they're going to crash into something. We don't intend for that satellite to come back. You know what I mean? When we send out
I got that. Yeah, sure.
Right. You're not like trying to track its way back home. You're just like, let's see how far we can push this probe into the universe, right? And like, if things are actually out there, wouldn't they do the same thing? And then if it crashes on Earth, it's like, it's because they didn't intend for it to get back. But through those findings, we could figure out our own tech. You know what I'm saying? We could like through reverse engineering and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think it's like plausible? I was like, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be plausible. Like we're making connections to what we are doing. We don't know what they would be thinking, or that. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree.
But I mean, like, it's plausible. Sure. Yeah.
Because like logically we like wouldn't.
But we're
wouldn't other
also,
things follow
but again, we don't know.
pattern?
We don't know this, but we also send things as a signal, right?
We do, yeah, we do.
To be intended so someone can reach that or get that signal.
Do you think that they could be doing the same thing?
That's what I'm saying. Like we don't know if that's we don't know if that's happening, right? But
yeah,
possible.
Another crazy one to another crazy theory out there is what about like what about just shooting? Oh, do you remember that movie where it starts off with like they're like white beings like jacked? Oh, I forgot what it's called.
Prometheus.
Thank you, Prometheus. Yeah. And in the beginning of Prometheus, he kind of falls into the water and then disintegrates or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
something like that.
But what is the build? Right, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you remember that? Right, like in the beginning, he falls and he like kills himself. So that could be like an allegory for how do you spread life on other planets? If there's water, you need bacteria, right? And that panspermia theory of like there was bacteria on a comet and then it hit the water of Earth and that's what started life on Earth. You know?
Yeah.
But what if that was like intentional? Like, wouldn't we do the same thing?
Yeah. It could be. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Like, what if we are literally just the same thing as other things out there, but the way they sent it was through bacteria?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like actually logical. You're using the rules of the game to create life elsewhere.
Right.
Like, you could see that happening, right? Like, if we just start shooting out DNA or like bacteria into the universe through like little, I don't know, pods or something, and then it hits the planet incidentally with water, you're like, perfect. That's the ingredients for life to grow.
Right.
You know, that could literally be us. Well, I mean, like theoretically, a lot of people say that is us with the panspermia theory.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, all that being said, who's to say that there isn't a giant universe out there that we're just not awake to being a part of yet? And I feel like with the disclosure, they might just be like, eventually, yeah, we are a part of this giant universe that's thriving with life. We just haven't told everyone yet. Right?
Right.
It's like, what would the implications be if they told us? We'd all be like, are we powerful? Are we going to die? Where's the army?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure. I hope there's quite enough people that. I mean, I'm a person that likes sci-fi, so I would like that world.
Okay,
so it's like
okay, totally. So there's two different realities here. Do you think that we would either take it as a threat, or like, oh, dude, like, how do we survive in this giant universe? Like, what's our place? Or do you think we'll be watching Nat Geo docs on it? You know what I'm saying? It's like how we watch people going to the Amazon and we're just fascinated by it.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the same, like, do you think people would just look at it like a fascination of like, oh, I can learn more about that species, or the other route of like freaking out? Yeah.
You see, what you said is it's different in the sense that when you're watching like Amazonians or other tribes, right?
Yeah, okay.
When we're watching it that way, we have the better technology. You get what I'm saying? If we're doing it, you're watching it the opposite way. You're saying that they would have.
Bro, these people could mess with us.
Yeah, so it's like we would be like the tribes watching these city world, or you know what I mean? It's different.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I guess people would naturally gravitate towards being freaked out then. Mm-hmm. If they're like, oh, there's these giants that have more power than you, and we're just watching a documentary about like,
yeah,
we're so weak. But no, actually, hold on, wait. But what about like sharks? Because we will watch ocean stuff, and we're like, I would never take on that shark, bro. I'm dead.
Yeah, but
we can't go in the water. We can survive.
But we still have better technology than a shark, right?
You mean like we could just nuke the shark?
Yeah. Like, it's...
I mean, technically, like, what if we could nuke these aliens too? You know?
Sure, then it's a different story, right? Then we have a better technology. But I don't think
I feel like we could nuke them. You don't think we could nuke a freaking alien? Maybe we dropped a nuke on them?
I don't think so.
Maybe they could, like, teleport away or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, so the reason why I'm, like, bringing this up, too, is because one thing that the religious professor was saying on that podcast is that's how we teach religion to people. Media.
Mm-hmm.
So why do people think... First of all, why do people know the story of Jesus? Movies. Why do we know the story of freaking... who's that guy that said, like, let my people go? Moses? How do we know that story?
Mm-hmm.
Movies, right? Like, we'll just watch a movie about it. And what she was saying is that that is potentially how they could be letting us know about alien life. Because a lot of these filmmakers are privy to information. Like I was saying, Christopher Nolan, man. I'm saying he knows. They're privy to, like, theories and information that we're not, and then they just depict it in media. You know? Like, to the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge, that was one of his missions, which is, like, I'm going to create movies that are about this phenomenon so that when you find out it's real, it's like, oh, it's just like that movie, bro. You saw that movie already. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Sure.
Because, like, right? And, like, media is how we control the perception and narrative of what we understand around us. You know? So I'm thinking, like, with the nature doc on these aliens, like, that would be a good way to... I feel like if you did, like, some Nat Geo alien stuff, I don't think we would freak out too much. You know? Because I'm thinking about the shark. It's like, yeah, that's in the water. Just don't go in the water, bro. Yeah, that's in space. Just don't go to their planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I just don't know. It's a different thing. You can't, it's not the same.
Yeah, you really think we'd freak out, eh?
I think that we would
freak out.
Yeah, I think so.
Simply because of power? You think it's simply because of power? Like, we don't have the ability?
Yeah, it could be that. It's how much control that they would have then, right? In that sense.
But what about this? What about, like...
It depends. I don't know. I just don't know if necessarily alien things are... Like, we send out scientists generally first.
Okay, yeah.
They're not there to conquer.
To check.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe it's a different kind of scenario there, right? If it's more, come friendly or whatever it is.
Oh, with them?
Yeah.
Like them coming to us? Like, but what if we had, like, some... Because, like, the more you look into this, the more you're just like, there's a bigger story here. Like, everyone alludes to a bigger story, which is like, yeah, people are freaking out about the UAPs, but, like, what the actual story is, and that's why we have to hide it from people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, when they ask, like, what the bigger question is, because who are piloting these crafts? That's the next question, right?
Sure.
And I feel like no matter what it is, the human race can accept it and just move on with their day. Because at the end of the day, we only care about what's in front of us. Like, there will be some outliers, that are like, just because I know that the great white shark is out there, it's not actually affecting my day to day. I just know that the great white shark is out there.
Yeah,
I know it's like a fact.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
And unless I'm actually visiting that galactic thing, like, there's no fear, but I feel like also that there is some interaction going on with those galactic things already. Like, there must be some sort of communication, negotiations going on. If they are out there like, if they're out there and the government knows about them, wouldn't we try and make contact? Wouldn't we want to, like, talk to them?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, logically speaking, like, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Want to?
Yeah, of course.
But a lot of people are like, well, why? right? But a lot of people are like, well, why would you want to talk to like the queen ant in an anthill, right?
From
like,
their perspective,
like we saw like an anthill.
Yeah.
From their perspective, it's like, why would they care about us? And I'm like, why would they not care about us? Like, we have commerce, trade, we have movies, we have art, we have so many things that we can like interact with them with.
Yeah, I think they would want to communicate with us.
Right? Isn't that freaking logical?
Like, yeah, but I think it makes sense. We try to communicate. We're trying to figure out a way to communicate with the animals that are here. Like, why wouldn't?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So then, if we would naturally do that, it's like, then the question is, have you already done that? And what is our position in the playing field here? Are we like commerce related? Are we
technology related?
Like, experiment?
Are we learning from them?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that there is, people are like, now that we're talking about it, people are like, oh, are we their slaves? Are they eating us? Are, you know what I mean? Like, those theories of like, if you look at the other alien theories of like, did they create us to like mine for gold? It's like, maybe, but I really don't think that.
But why would they do that though? I think at this point
that's what I'm saying, right?
They would have technology to do that for themselves. They don't have to necessarily have us.
Yeah, exactly. So I think out of everything, especially now that we're talking it through, I don't see any malevolent aspect here, because a lot of people are like freaking out about that. Like they could be harvesting us. But like, maybe, but for what? For what though? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess we do it to like cows, sure, but like,
yeah, but I get, but are they eating us? It's different though. It's different,
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like what might come down the pipeline,
like we're not harvesting. Like, we also put rules on like not harvesting whales or dolphins, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think if anything, the government. All right, this actually makes the most sense in my mind now that I'm really thinking about it. I think that the government wants to keep control of its people, and I think that it's known for a long time that we are not alone in the universe. But in order to manage the masses, we need to keep that secret for now. Because then we'd be like, why am I voting for you? I'm going to vote for, blah, blah, blah of the alien race. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I understand that, but then we don't have a one world government though, right? We have multiple countries that have different ideas.
Yeah, for sure. And different countries are keeping this at a different level of secrecy. So like, one thing that, if you find out more about this, because like with David Grush whistleblowing and all that, what he was saying, because like they're like, well, is USA the hotbed of alien stuff? And he's like, no, this is happening around the world. Just the government's treated differently than we do. We have such secrecy related to it because it's like what kind of powers our economics, that we keep it like close to the vest, and that's what's making this like interesting for people to watch. But Russia, Brazil, they have a pretty open. Canada has a pretty open UFO like logbook kind of thing. Like you can read those files. They're like public online about like what we know about them. So like, I think what the real issue here is that people are making a lot of money off of keeping this a secret, like through control, through like tech and all that. And then if we just like, what's happening now is like you're uncovering the secret with all these whistleblowers. Like, once we've figured out that we're being lied to, and then we get rid of that, we can open up the conversation of like, no, we're actually in this global, not global, this like universal galactic empire, and we're just one piece in the puzzle, like Dune.
Yeah.
Does that sound far-fetched, or like, I don't know, because I'm really thinking about like demons, and like, because a lot of people are like, oh, this is related to demons and stuff, and like, I just don't know if it's that nefarious. Like why?
Well, because it's in the shadow. That's why like things can fall in any of those categories, right? It's just now in your individual outlook on what it looks like. I don't think it's going to be demons or anything like that. I don't think that makes sense.
Right. But if you I don't know, like there's a whole can of worms associated with disclosure in terms of control. Mm-hmm. Like I think so. Like it just really doesn't make sense that like if we're in a simulation, I don't know, I'm just trying to run through all the theories and I'm like the only thing that makes sense to me is that people are profiting and they just don't want to tell you that they're part of a galactic empire because then you'd say what's next, and they don't know how to integrate a galactic thing with our, like if they just opened up like, hey, there's another country, you'd be like, all right, how do we interact with that country? Like what is the GDP? How do we integrate our money? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like our society is structured in a way that's very world centric, but like
sure,
how do we deal with them if they don't have our money? Is it just barter system? How do we integrate their tech with our tech? What would crumble if they were like, hey, actually, you don't need gas. You actually need this. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh, sweet. Then you cripple a bunch of businesses that are already running. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like we have a status quo in life. And if we enter like a much more powerful player who's benevolent and wants to work with us, we're like, but we don't know how to integrate that within our control systems without breaking everything.
Yeah, that's only if we know that, right? We don't know that, if that's necessarily the case.
Wait, what do you mean?
Because we...
Oh, wait, no. Right, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Because we do change, like even like going from coal to other things, to nuclear. Like these are changing energy systems, right?
No, for sure. They are changing energy. They are changing energy systems. You're right. But there are steps that allow the next person through innovation to make money off of it. So like, okay, we're transitioning all right, so let's think about economically. We have gas, right? And then you need electric now. So mm-hmm. What are the people who own gas going to do? Invest in electric vehicles, mm-hmm. windmills, right? We could slowly build our society off of the next iteration of technological development. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if I have gas money, I can invest in like EV cars now. And then I can invest in nuclear. Mm-hmm. I have a way to like continue my money growth, right? But what happens if like you're like, surprise, you're a part of this galactic empire, and then the galactic empire is like, I actually have a way better system for power than gas. Then mm-hmm. It's like, then we're all heading towards the new alien race versus getting our own. So does that species get more money now? We'll have to buy from them? You know what I'm trying to say?
No, I understand what you're saying, but that implies they're only talking to one government.
No, for sure. But I think that I get what you're saying. But I think that our global system is so integrated that if they dropped a power source that was way more efficient than what we already have, and there's no way to build it economically into our systems, it could just go haywire. The best example is actually weed, because you can't tax it. Remember what I was saying for a long time? It's like until they figure out how to tax it, people could just grow it. Mm-hmm. So that's why they're making it illegal.
So that depends.
So instead of making this illegal, you get my train of thought. Though,
I do understand your thought, but I'm saying like it depends on if it is something that is a game changer for countries to be energy independent, right? It's up to the alien, whatever the species that has the technology, if they are talking to other countries or not. If they're only talking to America, yeah, I mean America can control it.
Right, but then that becomes a game changer for America. So like if they sell their efficient energy to America, America sells that to us, maybe they're just like, whoever we give this tech to, they're going to rule the world.
Yeah, so
we're all going to buy from them.
What I'm saying is like, are they only talking to America, or are they talking to other countries?
But I think that they don't want to talk to any of us, or they don't want to. We just don't know how to play this out without giving one country the advantage over another country. And I feel like they would know that too.
Right, but I understand that. But then it depends, right? If we're not doing anything with their energy source, then we're not buying anything from them?
No, for sure not. No, I don't think so. I think that's why they're keeping it secret.
I get that, yeah. So do they not want to trade?
I don't think they know how to trade. Us. I don't think we know how to trade with them. Like, we don't have any money system set up with them. It would just be a barter system. But then I'm sure the aliens would know that whoever you give this technology to is going to rule the world. So it's like, we don't want to play that game. We're just going to like wait and watch until you're ready to join us, you know?
Okay, so they're not... Right, I understand. So they're not trading, in a sense.
No, but I think they're communicating, for sure.
Okay.
Like, you have to be communicating. Technically, you don't have to be communicating.
I don't think you would need to communicate if you're not trading in that sense, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But you see what I'm saying, though, right? Like, it's like, if we open up to the world, hey, there's a galactic empire, but we don't know how to interact
yeah, what I'm
empire.
saying, yeah, so it depends, right? So if they need something from us, then we would be trading. What I mean by us in like this, if they need something from the planet, from whatever that it may be, right? So they would talk to someone that would want to trade.
Or it's like this, we see. Okay, so like, let's say you go into the Amazon forest. I actually heard about this on the podcast too, that during World War II, there was a plane that went down, and then I forgot what it was, like the cult of something, but this Amazonian tribe started to worship the plane that crashed because they started, the pilots started to give food to the people, right? Because they were like, oh my God, you're gods. But it's like, no, we're literally just from this different country. Mm-hmm. We have this tech. But okay, let's say you have a bunch of warring tribes, right? And we're like, if I give you the machine gun, you're going to kill the rest of the world, right? So there's that one issue, which is like, whoever gets the most powerful toy will rule the rest of the tribes, okay? The second issue is, there's nothing I want from you. If you have a bunch of like tribes, you're kind of just watching, like, what am I going to buy from an Amazonian tribe? Like, nothing. And I think that's the juxtaposition here of like, or not just this, like the main issue. No, of like, they have nothing they need from us. I think they're more just like, oh, their life. That's cool. Mm-hmm. You know, because like, what could we possibly give? Although there is interactions, like people talk about, you know, abductions and like encounters with these beings, but I don't think it's like commercially, there's nothing you would need from Earth, except for like, I don't know, enjoyment, interacting with a new species. Mm-hmm. Like when we go to the Amazon.
So then I don't. then that's what I'm saying. Like,
hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah. Then I don't know if there's necessarily communication then. If they don't really need anything from us.
So there's a lot of talk about they're already amongst us. We just don't know it because the way they look is very similar to how we look.
Okay.
And also, as we progress towards like technological advancements, like people can like have implants that look really weird. Mm-hmm. They don't stand out as much. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a pink hair, like crazy eye. You know what I'm saying? Like we're at that point where they can walk around, we wouldn't even know. And I think that's kind of, this is a really great podcast for me because I'm like, actually, this makes the most sense after everything I've read. Because I'm like, I'm listening to all these arguments and I'm like, I don't see it. I don't know why we would talk about like the fear of them being around us. It would, the closest thing I can think of is if we go to an Amazon tribe, there's nothing that they can give us that we, you know what I mean? Like, you want some clothes? I'm like, bro, I have better clothes at home. You want this, I don't know, this like necklace. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Sure,
there's nothing
sure.
that we would need from an Amazon tribe except for experiences. We go into Amazon tribes all the time to like learn from them, interact with them. We kind of look like them, right? They're like, we help them out, like the big pygmy. There's this guy, this UFC, not UFC fighter, MMA fighter who goes into the pygmy forest to build wells for them. That's literally the same thing as like if an alien was here. Like, I'm sure they would interact, help out, but there's no need to make it public to the rest of the world because like it would just undo our economy. Because as soon as they give us something technologically advanced compared to the rest of the world, like that one country is going to rule the world. We saw it with the atom bomb. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just trying to relate it to things that happened here, right? When when the Europeans just came and saw the first Amazonians or the natives, right?
Yeah, but the difference there is they needed something from the Amazonians. They needed the gold.
No, so that no, what I'm saying, they found the gold after, right? The point was just exploration.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Right.
Oh, so you think that's what they're just?
That's what I'm saying. Like then there would be trade, right? There was a reason after the fact.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. But I think that we're such at a technological divide at them that there's nothing that they would want from us.
Again, yeah, but I guess again, I don't know, and this is some resource that they need for their technologies. Yeah.
Except for experiences, though. Like, that's the only thing I could see that they would want. But they would just use our money. They would just integrate themselves with our lives, you know?
Sure. Yeah. That's different. Yeah. That's immigration then.
Yeah. Yeah, but for real, though, right? Like, it's... Does that make sense to you, actually? Like logically speaking, just thinking about it from a business perspective, like, why wouldn't they want to make...
Then what it means is, that more reminds me of just Men in Black, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like the lady said in that religious podcast, she's like, we use media to tell us about religion. How do we know what Moses was like? How do we know what Jesus was like? Why does everybody think Jesus was white? It's literally because of the media. This is so funny. Tara's sister was like, do you know what Jesus would have been like? I'm like, black. And she's like, oh, how'd you know? I saw TikTok on it. I'm like, yeah, it's because of the media. Like, if you just look at the region, like, he's probably African. Like,
sure.
It's, you know what I mean? It's like, it just makes sense. But how we learn about these things globally is through the media. So that being said, maybe they release Men in Black because they know what's going on. And they're like, this is actually what it is. Which is tourism. Like, they literally just come here for tourism.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. And I think that they can't tell us because not that we would freak out, but we would want things from them.
Maybe we're the bad guys. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying, that if you like listen to multiple arguments, the reason why the main things they're afraid of us is because we're naturally a warfaring species. Like, everything we do is combat.
Right.
And if we found out that there was another life form, we'd want to conquer it. You know, and that's what they're afraid of.
It just reminds me of then it's Westworld then.
What do you mean? Yeah.
People going into that.
Go on with that.
So Westworld, right, is like people going into that world to live that life. They experience that life, that world.
Okay, yeah.
Then the people
the
Westworld realize, wait, there's a bigger world than what we have.
Oh, maybe that is what it is. It's like you have this galactic empire, but we have to keep it hush-hush, because if they find out that there's a bigger world out there, they'll want to see the bigger world. But that has a whole host of problems we can't deal with. Maybe. But maybe that's why I'm like, oh, wait, are we about to hit disclosure? And like, we're going to find out we're a part of this galactic empire, is because we're hitting that point where we're almost self-sustaining enough that we don't need to worry about wanting things from them.
Yeah, you could get to that point. I understand. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Like we have our own planes, we have our own energy systems. Back then, if we're in like the Wild Wild West and then alien came, like, dude, you have a ship. I want to use your ship. But it's like, build your own ship, which we did. And now you're like, okay, you have like some thing, or it's kind of like this. It's like a black belt in jiu-jitsu rolling with another black belt is a sharing of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
A white belt rolling with a black belt is the black belt teaching them.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not at that level yet where you're like, I would just kind of be like helping you too much. You know, you're kind of a crutch now. But I think we're achieving that state where we're actually able to like hold our own. And they're like, okay, cool, you can hold your own. Like, let's talk about what's actually out there.
Right.
Okay, does that sound crazy? Like, I'm just trying to, like, we all know that UAPs are real. Okay. And now it's like, how do we put the logic behind it? And that's what I'm trying to do now. Like, I really don't think it's supernatural. I don't think there's angel and demons. Maybe there is multi-dimensional aspect to it, but I think that's not going to freak a lot of people out. I think it's really just commerce. That's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
But like commerce is in like how we live our lives.
Yeah.
We just don't know what to do. How do we integrate that with our society if you find out that they're aliens?
Sure.
Right? Like,
sure, yeah, maybe.
Like the weed example.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like there's no way to control it. There's no way to like tax it. Right? No. Do you see any like holes in that argument, or are you just like, this makes no sense?
No, I mean it could make sense. But we don't know what any of this stuff, like, until we get that information, right?
For sure. Yeah. Totally. But I'm just like looking at all the other potentials, which is like they're harvesting us. I'm like, meh, I don't know.
Right. And that just falls into the alien fear stories. Yeah.
But even taking fear out of it, it's just like, I don't even know what you'd harvest us for. Like, what would you, like, you know, like, are you actually eating us? I don't know. But then wouldn't we just be like cattle?
Right. Yeah.
Or like, what if this is a simulation? Or like the other theory of like, what if this is a simulation and they're the ones like controlling the simulation?
It's like the Matrix.
Like, okay, maybe.
Like harvesting us through the Matrix. But then what's the difference?
You're like, yeah, exactly. Like, okay, I'm just going to go to sleep then if that's the truth. Like, I'm just going to enjoy my time here. I don't want to wake up, you know?
Right.
There's like all these other theories are just kind of like, they
but like even if it was, if it was the Matrix, right? The people in the Matrix, they wouldn't know the difference.
Exactly. Yeah. And you guys are doing a bad job if you're making me see your cursors. Like, what? What are you guys doing?
Right.
Like, fix that bug, bro.
Right. Exactly.
Go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that's why I'm like, all these other arguments are making no sense for me, except for the fact that maybe we just don't know how to integrate it within our society. And that, historically, that is what the problem has always been. You just don't know how to integrate it with your, like, you know, even like the atom bomb. It's like that just became, we had to keep that hush hush until we're like, oh, we could actually derive some sort of energy system from it. And you're like, okay, cool, like, let's integrate it now.
Yeah. But it's up to them, right? So they are the ones in power of.
But that's what I mean. I think it comes down to control. Oh, you mean like the aliens or
the aliens?
Governments.
The aliens.
Oh, okay. No, I think the aliens are smart enough to know that if they just came clean, this would wreck our whole society because we'd be like.
So that's what I'm saying. It's the aliens making that decision then, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. And I think from our point of view, like why there's so much secrecy is because we also don't know how to integrate it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't know how to tax it. It's literally the weed example. It's like, why are mushrooms and why were they illegal? Oh, because they like break your mind. Okay, not really. So like, why is it actually illegal? Oh, because we can't regulate it. We can't tax it. We can't control it. And society's all about control.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we're just hurting the masses. This actually all makes sense, right? Like if you look at like species, like we always say like we're just hurting the masses. That's why marketing matters. We need to like lie to these people. To like, you can't know everything that's going on because we need to pay our taxes. We need to like build our roads.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. We've created a system. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And if you add something to the system and you don't know how to use it within the system, you might accidentally break the system.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like imagine if they're just like, oh yeah, there are aliens out there with like better technology than us. How many people would create a cult trying to call the aliens so that they can go to their planet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? That would literally happen. Or like people trying to like bomb the government systems because they're like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. These aliens are gods, and then we just worship them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or maybe they did do that in the past, and that's why you have like Egyptians worshiping aliens and stuff, like the Machu Picchu people. Maybe they tried it.
Maybe
like,
they tried it. Yeah.
Guys. Right? You know, and it was like, we're just gonna keep it secret,
Or
because like a lot of right, you know what I'm saying? Because
no,
like, you look at the history, a lot
right,
of people,
right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they did it in the past and they realized their mistake. I'm talking about the aliens.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
for real though, because like that's why so many ancient civilizations talk about aliens. Like everyone's like the wheels of Ezekiel, and like, oh, we were the Anunnaki. We were remember the Anunnaki? Sure, like they created us. They were working with them. It's like they're like the aliens are like, oh, dude, this can go so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll literally think of us as gods, which is what happened when that plane crashed in the Amazon, and then people thought that those like pilots were gods, but they're not gods. They're just like, hey man, they're just like a part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, we're running with this theory. We're recording this, just like so many other things like COVID. Like we can always just like, hey, just go listen to that podcast. We called that recession thing. How you know what I mean? Like so, like 10 years down the line or like 5 years down the line, people are like, oh, they just didn't know how to integrate. We're like, dude, we knew the whole time.
Right.
That's all it was. You know? Yeah. All right. Anyways, anything else about the alien stuff? I went on a friggin' tangent I didn't expect to do.
No, nothing with the alien. Maybe they also have some issues like us though too. Maybe they have different ideas, different governments.
Okay, so that's actually so. And listen to the podcast again. There's a guy that's really Jacques Vallée. I haven't read his book yet, but he's super deep into this alien thing. And what he was saying is that we call them angels and demons, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's no different than how we have good people and bad people. Like they just have tech that we don't have, so we think that they're like deities, like angels and demons. But there are some benevolent ones, and there are some like not benevolent ones. Sure. Just like life, right? You always have a duality. So I'm sure there are like negative ones out there, and I'm sure there are positive ones. I'm sure there's like a battle that's like being run behind the scenes that we're not even privy to. Yeah, because that's just the nature of the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like good and evil, or like whatever you consider good and evil.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, what time are we at?
1 hour and 17.
Oh wow, damn! All right, that was a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, wait. One thing I do, or like I have two things I just really want to bring up because I think this is pretty interesting. Speaking of like cyborg life, it's fascinating how it's fascinating how I'm going to talk about the Theragun first, actually. So somebody kicked me in jiu-jitsu, and so the psoas muscle is what they kicked. So basically, it's like the inner thigh that leads up to the groin. So like where your leg is, and then there's like an inner part. So they kicked me there, and apparently there's a muscle called psoas there, and I was having crazy. Remember, I was like, oh, I'm sitting all day. It's like back pain, whatever. So after going to the physio person, the chiropractor, it turns out that it wasn't sitting issue. It wasn't back pain. It was just that muscle was hurt. So then it was making other muscles overcompensate.
Right. Yeah. I got. Yeah. Right.
But isn't that crazy how muscles are so integrated? It's like you think one issue is like over here, but it could be like a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Like we really gotta think of our mech suits as like one unit. Okay, and here's and then here's the other thing about that. So the sleep apnea test that I did, and remember how I was like getting crazy high blood pressure?
Mm-hmm.
like 40, and then we dip down to 120, and like up and down Tara's like, oh, it's most likely sleep apnea. And then even the sleep apnea person's like, oh, it's caffeine. And my mom was like, told you it's caffeine, whatever. So I've been using the sleep apnea machine for within the first 4 days, and I tested my blood pressure, it normalized. I changed nothing. Zero. Yeah, it's crazy, bro. Wild. So even with the I didn't change my caffeine habit. I didn't change my dietary habit because I was like, okay, is it just sleep? And it just went back to normal. And I was like, oh, this was the missing piece. But what's also crazy about that is I've always had a low hum of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always tense, right? And I think that's why I went into yoga, martial arts, trying to figure out what that was. I don't feel that at all anymore.
Right.
There's no more anxious feeling. And it's wild, again, going back to the psoas muscles, we're so connected, but it's just one thing is just tripping something off, and it's domino affecting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then to take that back to the cyborg life, why am I freaking sleeping with a goddamn?
But that reminds me, or that tells me that nature isn't perfect.
But that's the point of the book, right? It's right. If you want off-world, you need to swap out parts that are not working.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we're doing, right? You have the augmented reality, the Neuralink. I'm excited for that. People are freaking out, but it's if you can literally make people see again, this is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're paraplegic and all of a sudden you can walk, it's why would you want to live in that existence of not optimal?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Of course.
I mean, that's even why we have medications and all this stuff.
Right.
We are literally cyborgs, man. And as we progress more towards it, it's the weirdest thing. I have this machine that I put on my face and I breathe through it in order to not freaking die every night and have crazy cortisol spikes.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's how is that any different from a cyborg, bro? If you take out the cyborg's main computer, he's gonna be oh, I can't operate correctly, you know? Yeah. Crazy world we're embarking on. And I'm pretty excited about where it's all headed. Yeah. Did you see the chef AR reality one?
No. What? What's that?
Okay. Check this out, bro. So, I'm shout out you, Arvel, if you're listening to this right now, because you brought it up, and I was like, dude, you definitely gotta buy it. So we're talking about the Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I'm like, dude, I would buy it. And then he's like, yeah, I did see a video where, so imagine at the bakery. So you have all these racks, and then you're like, okay, I need to put this in for this amount of time. This has been sitting out for this amount of time. Instead of guessing it, you could literally AR it and just you could pin timers.
Yeah,
and he's like, I saw this video, but I'm like, bro, that's gonna make the world way more optimal. Not even from an entertainment perspective. It's of course you'd want to do that.
Yeah,
it's we have this efficiency. Oh, this has been sitting out for this long. Okay, you have 20 more minutes on this. You should have multiple timers. It's just making it way more
convenient.
You know? So why would you not buy Apple Vision Pro? Why would you not become a cyborg, bro?
Right. Yeah.
What are we trying to do here? You know what I mean?
I mean, this is the same. It's true. It's the same thing that we've had. It's the scare of a smartphone.
Right? And it's dude, no, just embrace technology. This is where it's headed, and it's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just freaky for you right now, but don't you love taking pictures on your smartphone?
Right, but I think it's always the case. Something new, something unknown is always scary. Until then, everybody's using it.
Until it's just normalized.
It's just normalized now, yeah.
My dad, literally, when we were at the CN Tower yesterday, he went live on Facebook. And I'm like, that's tech, though, bro. Fake tech, you know? Even though people are oh, technology's so bad, it's
right.
No, it's made our lives very great.
Mm-hmm.
And And I think the next iteration of that, like being the Apple Vision Pro, like, I saw this other one where the doctor was like operating or something, and then they were looking at the head, and it was showing like a scan of the head as she was like, like, bro, I would want my doctor to do that. I don't want my doctor to guess. Like, look inside, man. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah.
Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're all afraid of it.
Well, it's understandable. It's always, that's generally how it happens. But again, if you're used to technology, we like technology, so we have a different viewpoint on it. But eventually, everyone else is going to get involved in it, anyways. It's going to happen.
Yeah, totally. Okay, my last question, and it's kind of a thought too, is like, I'm somebody who's scared of AI. I've always been, just because like Elon Musk, the way he's presenting, I'm like, oh yeah, they could just kind of control us. And like, so my first question is like, do you think that AI is a life form? You personally?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, it can be.
Like, would you consider a life form?
I think that we need to understand definitions, because AI, we're already using AI in a lot of things.
Yeah, but you don't like.
I don't
do you think
know.
It's a tool, or do you think it's like?
I think it's right now.
Would
it's
you consider
a
it
tool.
alive? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Do you consider it alive?
I don't know yet. I don't think yet.
Okay. What constitutes something as being alive?
Right now, the AI is still just doing tasks for us, right? But that's how it's programmed.
Yeah.
You input, and they give you an output.
So you wouldn't consider it alive just because it's doing tasks for us?
Yeah, I think it's when it can do its own thing.
What,
I don't know when that will be. But
what about a cow that's used to pull the cart? Is the cow alive? It's just doing the task of like helping you.
We're using it for a task, but we haven't. If we set the cow out for free, it's still going to live on its own, right?
But technically, isn't the AI living on its own? Like ChatGPT, just leave it there and it's like,
no, it's
I don't
not,
know what it's doing.
But it's not doing anything until you ask it.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. It's like a light. It's like it's literally off until you.
Yeah, the energy. Yeah,
and it has that one function. Okay, interesting. Okay, fair. So it's more like a Jarvis, like in Iron Man.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with that. Yeah. Okay, and then, do you think that we should fear AI?
We're the creators of AI. I don't think so.
No, right?
No.
Yeah, because I heard will.i.am, remember Black Eyed Peas? He was talking about AI, and they were like, "Oh, should we fear AI?" And he's like, "I don't think we should fear AI because we should fear the people who use AI, not AI itself."
Sure. Okay.
And I was like, "That's a good point." Like guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I don't think it's just gonna like all of a sudden nefariously try and kill us. Unless somebody kind of puts that in its head to nefariously kill us.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I want to hear the craziest AI thing that I heard. I was like,
sure.
That's a new creative endeavor for me. So, I won't name specifically, but if you're listening, you know exactly who you are. They were like, there's this person. There's this person. If I say it directly, it was like too obvious. There's a person who basically just goes on ChatGPT and they're like, "Tell me a story that deals with these characters." So instead of like finding the book, they get AI to write them the book, and they just read that book. And I'm like, that's like an infinite playground. And they're like, "I want the next chapter to be about this."
Right.
And then they'll like spend their time like reading that. It seems kind of like when I kind of made fun of it at first. I was like, "Oh, it seems like you're so bored, bro." But it's like that actually seems like the most efficient fun tool in the world because you could do anything. You're like God at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have like the visual simulator, like now show me this in a visual simulation. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
it's like it's an infinite playground of fun, and we've literally created that.
Yeah.
We have essentially become gods.
Mm-hmm.
Not us for like creating, but like we have the godlike tool.
Right. It's really good, ChatGPT.
Not even just that, but like OpenAI with like the visuals. But I think you have to pay for that. I heard somebody say like
the visual one is not out yet. There's a portion of the visual one out, not the one that they know how, the new one that they have, Sora or something, whatever that technology is called.
Okay. Because I've been seeing like on my feed like people just like generating AI related stuff, and I'm like, how are you doing that? Do you know how they're doing that? Is that
I think they've given some beta programs to people to use.
Oh, okay.
The software. I was using this other app. I forgot what it's called, but it's like takes videos and it'll convert it to some form of I guess using their AI. It depends on what you want. Yeah, you can do realism, animated style. I'll show you some that I have. Yeah. So
I'm so interested.
You just input it into the thing and it just generates it. So it's pulling things from ideas from different things, but it's not it's smooth, but it's not like steady where it's trying to read the images each time and put something in there. It's got a similar arc for the whole video, but you can tell it's still learning things.
Oh, right? That's cool. Okay.
But these are different AI systems, right, that are trying to do it. So
maybe AI is not actually an intelligence. Maybe it's an extension of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you're like, I want this. I want to see this. It's like it's us.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm trying to say? It's not actually an intelligence. It's just us outside of ourselves helping us get what we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is a tool.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's like how my phone's an extension of myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like my online profile is an extension of myself.
Yeah.
You know, just like AI is an extension of ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, trippy. And any final things? That's all I had. I was just thinking about that.
No, yeah, that's all. I think AI is pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with ChatGPT. It does help in a lot of ways that.
Dude, everyone's using ChatGPT, bro. Like everyone I know.
No, I mean,
it's
like,
wild.
Yeah. No, I get it for work and stuff like that, but like in general things, right? Like if you have, I only got this ingredients in my fridge. What can I make?
What?
And it'll tell you.
You do that?
Yeah. You can go very specific on your search. That's why it's better than Google. Because you got to scour.
So maybe it's like
it's better than Google in many ways. Yeah.
Maybe it's just Jarvis, bro.
Yeah.
It's Jarvis, like from Iron Man. I heard Mark Zuckerberg talk about this. He's like, when we talk about AI, you have to realize it's not a central AI. It's like you'll have AI mods for things.
Sure.
So like Siri will be different than ChatGPT, which will be different from OpenAI, but they're not like one. Like we're all talking about this fear of AI, but it's like it's actually just like different.
Yeah, it's different systems.
It's not one thing. Yeah, right. Yeah, I feel better now. I'm like, okay, yeah, it is just an extension. It's like, what is it gonna do? Like rule the world? Like maybe, I guess, but like, what would it benefit from? AI like bring down humanity. It requires us as much as we need it. It's like a symbiotic relationship now.
Mm-hmm.
Like Venom, you know, like
right.
You know what I mean? Like we give it energy and it gives us solutions. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Yeah. That's all. I guess till next week. But okay, wait. But you see it now. Do you like after this whole conversation? Like, can you like you feel it now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just so much going on that I'm like So things about to happen. Not in like a bad way. Like we're about to converge into this new thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Of people, right? Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. All right.
Yeah.
Till next time. Take it easy, Bish.
Peace.
Bye. All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors: Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Bish.
Peace.